Welcome back to Morning Coffee with Tim. We're back, and a historical moment on the podcast. The first ever returning guest from season 1. Also, probably one of the most, I know I shared the Spotify Wrapped, one of the most listened to episodes from season 1. Conall Rice, how are you, brother? It's good to see you back in the studio, man.
It's good to be back. I was saying it's kind of nostalgic to be back. It's mad what's happened in a year. Like, I feel like a different person being back, but it's an honour to be your first returning guest.
Man, thank you for coming on. It's also a different studio. It's a new studio, so it's like we mix it up. Didn't want to bring you back to the same studio. We brought it upstairs for a little bit of a change of environment, but no, man, really, really glad to have you. You brought me a flat white too. Bonus points.
Yeah,
felt bad you bringing me the coffee to my own podcast, but no, I really appreciate it, man. But look, we've loads to dive into. As I said, your episode was one of the most listened to. Obviously relatable. A lot of people obviously took a lot of value from it, and the video episode is actually doing really well too on YouTube. So I'm excited for this one. But we've got loads of things to dive into. Firstly, obviously normally I ask you what your favorite coffee order is. I want to go back. Have you had any nice coffee experiences since we last chatted? Any, as I called it in the last episode, a sip experience, thought,
yeah,
that's quite nice. But have you had any since we last spoke?
Yeah, there's one that jumps out. I went to Central America over the summer and went to Nicaragua, which is like the home of good coffee. And I one morning woke up really early, walked myself down to town, got a double espresso, and I've never been knocked off my chair by a coffee more than I was in that moment. Oh, it was so good. And then also an even better one. So that was like the barista style, so posh coffee.
Yeah.
However, I was hiking volcano Acatenango in Guatemala, and when we got to the top,
that's a madness. The two sentences you just said, that's what we're going to go into, what you've done throughout the last year. But anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
So we got to the top. We summited it at like 5 a.m. in the morning.
Good sunrise.
The best I've ever seen. And then we got back down, and the guides were brewing this humongous pot of coffee, and it was just like completely rustic rural coffee.
Yeah,
tasted like so raw and horrible in the best way. Mm-hmm. And then me and my mates just sat and watched the volcano erupt at 6:30 in the morning with a rustic cup of coffee that we'd thrown a wee dash of whiskey into, and had an Irish coffee watching the sunrise over a volcano. So that was a sip.
I actually wasn't even going to ask that question, but I'm so glad I did, because you had probably two of the best experiences I've ever heard. But that's mental. See, I actually had an experience like that with coffee before, which I don't think I mentioned on the podcast. In Portugal, which is like the side of in Lisbon. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to Lisbon, have you?
No, I've actually never been to Portugal.
Incredible, like up. It's like a hilly city, so you're kind of like always going up. And I was on the edge, this like little cafe that looked like a little kiosk, and no one spoke English, and I was just sitting there. That I didn't really know how to order, but I managed to order an espresso anyway. There was like an old guy playing like a recorder on the side of, like, sitting down beside me, and it was like he was my own personal musician, just playing this little bit of music. And I was looking over. I had just been to a fitness summit, IFS, and I had like met loads of cool people, done loads of cool stuff. And this was me kind of like solo traveling for a week afterwards. And I sat there and I was like, damn, life's good. I'm sure you felt the same when you were on the edge of watching the volcano.
Yeah, I've never felt smaller in the nicest way, which was what made it so sick.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. No, that's a cool one. That's a really cool one. So tell me, since we last spoke, obviously, when were you last in the podcast? When was it?
It was at the very start of my prep for my last marathon, so it would have been January.
Would it have been?
Yeah.
So it's been a year?
It's literally been a year, yeah.
It would have been. I think it was the start of the year, yeah.
Because I remember I had my first long run before I came in India.
And
I was feeling like a boss.
That's right. Yeah, because I think I remember pushing the podcast at the start of this year. So it probably would have been January. That's nuts. Tell me. It's so hard to think back, because I've had a crazy year too. It's kind of like you kind of look back and like, geez, that's a bit mental. But you have had a crazier year than the majority of people. What was the kind of plan for the year? Whenever you were doing a bit of longer running.
Yeah.
I don't think you had ultras in your mind at that stage.
No.
More marathons, maybe kind of half marathon stuff.
Yeah, I was just testing the water. I think whenever I was last in the podcast, didn't really know much about running. I learned all about running on my marathon prep, and then took that new kind of knowledge I built into what do I want to do next.
Yeah.
And so the plan for the year was I didn't have a plan, which is what made it so fun.
Yeah.
It's
the best way, man.
Yeah, I think it is. I think
It
it encourages you to do, always be thinking on your feet and always taking any opportunity that comes next if you don't have a plan, because you're afraid of like, what if I end up doing nothing here?
Yeah.
So pretty much my uni, they oversubscribed us in COVID. We have a 40-man-hour year and they're trying to get rid of people. So they offered us a year out and I took it. And I took it because my mates in uni are very, very smart and good lads.
Yeah.
They have lots of life stories because they've done a lot of travelling.
Uh-huh.
And I said to myself, like, mate, I've come straight from school, done no travelling, never got out of my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. I know I need to do this. So I just signed up to it and hadn't got any plans. Said to the uni, like, I'll see you next year. I'm away. So then finished my exams in July and started travelling. And as you said...
So you're out until July next year?
I'm out until September.
September? Okay, yeah. Nice.
So yeah, and then had absolutely no plans, and it was really hilarious because everyone would always ask me, so what's the plans for the year out? And I'd just waffle some rubbish about, like, list off a few countries, like, oh yeah, Australia, Bali, all the usuals that everyone would say, and not knowing really what I wanted to do. And so then I guess I just became receptive to any idea that came into my head or came across like my path.
Yeah.
My mates were chatting to me one night about the Camino,
Uh-huh.
so that was how I got the idea for that.
Yeah.
Thought it'd be pretty cool. Went and done that, and I really loved the marathon experience. So then I was like, well, can I take this further? Mm-hmm. What do I want to do next? And then, seeing all these videos of crazy guys running ultras, I was like, okay, I want to give that a go, and just stuff like that. So it was like any life experience that I thought would be worthwhile or provide me growth or get me out of my comfort zone, I just went for it.
Yeah.
And also then bring it back to when I left uni in July, I had a nice summer with mates and family of travelling. And then, so September on until now has been like solo stuff and solo ventures.
Yeah. Is that your first time solo traveling?
First time solo traveling, yeah.
How was it the first kind of like? Because I know I solo traveled for the first time this year as well. Like how when you were on the plane, leaving little old Fitna, like what was the thoughts? Was there any tough times? Was it did it come naturally to you? Because I know for me, it kind of felt similar to when I went to uni, but I went to uni in England, so it felt like it wasn't as far, but it was a similar experience in my head of I'm leaving all the people I know to go and set up somewhere else. I know solo traveling, you're coming back, but it's still like I'm going places that new cultures, new experiences, people don't speak the language. What way did you feel?
I had no idea what to feel, so it happened in two stages. So solo traveling for me was like after summer, as I said, but I also had to solo travel to Central America to see my mates because they went out before me,
right?
And just the logistic reasons. So I had to jump on the plane from Dublin to New York, and then New York down to Costa Rica myself, and I didn't really feel anything because I didn't know what to feel. I was just sitting there like, this is kind of cool. And then when I landed in Costa Rica, I got nervous because I had to make the next day I had to make a really confusing journey across borders and stuff to get to Nicaragua to meet my mates. So that's when I kind of got a bit nervous, but I remember writing in my journal, like, this is kind of class, like you're getting nervous about the next step. Yeah. And the only way you can conquer that is by going and actively seeking out the next step and doing it. So once you do more of those steps, you get more confident in the fact that it's really just a lot of stepping stones over the river, and like, it's just a jigsaw you piece together and to get to one place. And I remember landing out after those 2 days of solo traveling to meet my mates and just thinking, how crazy is that? Like 3 wee lads from Ireland ending up finding each other in Nicaragua on the other side of the world. So that was cool. Like I definitely did get nervous on a few of the buses, like just being like, what am I doing? Where am I going? I hope these lads are here. Like, have they lied to me, and are they sitting back home in Belfast laughing at me?
That would have been a pretty elaborate prank, like.
Pretty elaborate prank, yeah. Would have cost me a bit of money, like. But so then after summer, I decided to travel solo. I didn't decide. I had to because all my mates went back to uni. Yeah. So that was like the solo stuff, and that was weird because everyone was going back to uni and life was going on, and then it kind of hit me like, okay, you're on this year out. You have decided to like make this decision, and you're stuck with it now. So make the most of it. So the first thing I'd done was I hiked the Camino Santiago. And little naive me thought that would be a brilliant place to start for a solo venture. And usually people go for maybe a city break or like, I don't know, go interrailing or something for solo traveling where there's lots of people, lots of information and all that there. But instead I decided to go and start in the bottom of France and hike to the northwest coast of Spain. Yeah. Which is like roughly 800 kilometers, and realistically you're not getting out of there until you've crossed the country by foot. And it didn't hit me until I was probably 4 or 5 days in when I went, oh my gosh, I'm here for a month, doing this for a month.
Should have done a weekend in Paris.
I should have done a weekend in Paris, mate. Yeah, at least there would have been better coffee.
Man.
But it hit me 4 or 5 days in. It was just that feeling of like, oh crap, I want to get home. I kind of want to get home, but the only way I can do that is by relentlessly getting up at 5 every day and hiking 30 to 40 kilometers across a country, like which like we were in rural Spain, so like Basque country, and we went across what's known as the Meseta, which is this. Meseta means flat, like as in plain, and it was just like this almost desert-like area of absolutely nothing. And I remember getting up to like there was one random hill in it. I remember getting up and looking around, and you couldn't see anything. Like it was just barren. And that was when it started to get really tough. Like I was like, there is no way I can get home to my friends and family unless I A, quit, or B, put my head down and like relentlessly push through this every day.
Yeah.
And although I'm making it out to seem like a horror story, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Probably because it was the toughest. And like see those dark mornings when you're alone hiking, you know, with just the head torch in front of you. The thing that kept you going was the fact that the sun will always rise. It'll always get lighter. And when it does, you've got 5 mates up there sitting with a pastry and a coffee waiting for you just to hear the crack from the morning's hike, which was lovely. And if it wasn't for the people I met in it, I wouldn't have got it done. Yeah. But I also think it was for the fact of I could have easily quit in terms of like you could pull out anywhere and go and get a flight from the nearest city. There's lots of cities in the way.
How close to that do you think you were?
I was never close to
never close. Like, it crossed your mind, but it was never an option.
It crossed my mind that the option exists, which made me go, "Oh yeah, that option exists."
Which is comfort. It's comfort, like like pulling you back.
It is. I actually remember sitting myself. Sorry to go off on a tangent. I went.
We're all about tangents here.
I went 7-8 days with mates. Met a mate called Jack. On the second day, I was standing in the line. He goes. He heard me chatting. He goes, "Belfast." I turned around. and I was like, "Hi, where are you from?" And he's from Monaghan, so he's about 35 minutes down the road, which is class. So then me and him became best mates, shared a lot. And then on the 7th, 8th day off the Camino, I goes like, "Boys, I kind of want to go this solo a wee bit and just see what that's like." Worst decision I ever made in my life. 5 days of hell of like just, you know, feeling so alone and so isolated. Yeah. And there was one day that it did get. I had the realization that I could quit, and I just met this group of American young guys, and they were good crack. But I never felt so removed from a group because I was so caught in my own head. Yeah. And we were walking along this lovely mountainous forest path, and I was just getting overwhelmed. I could feel my breath getting faster, and I was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? You know, I've still got 25 days in front of me. Yeah. And as soon as they turned a corner, I made a beeline for the forest, went and found a little, like, kind of, I don't know, stone by the river or something. Lay there, just let it all out for a while, and realised, like, you could go home tomorrow if you wanted to. But imagine if you went home now and you had to sit at home with that realisation that as soon as it got tough and as soon as you were scared, like, which is exactly why you got into the year out traveling in the first place, you came straight home. And I genuinely said to myself, I was like, as weird as it sounds, I was like, if I went home now and done that, then I would probably be defeated for the rest of my life. I wouldn't have the confidence to see anything else through the rest of my life. So I always knew like I wouldn't do it because I'd be quite stubborn when it comes to that. But like, it was the sense of like, you know, this is so tough, but if you get it done, it's going to stick with you for the rest of your life. And on the contrary, if you go home and quit now, that's going to stick with you for the rest of the life. What do you want to endure more? Like 27 days of pain, isolation and solitude, or a lifetime of like regret and worry and like, you know, a bit of a realization that maybe you weren't who you thought you were, you weren't strong enough, like not as strong as you thought you were. So yeah, it was brilliant for that. But that was my baptism of fire into solo travel.
You didn't go in. You didn't like dip your toe in the water. Like, you just
why did you not tell me before? Are you sure you want to go with the Camino, mate?
Man, you just jumped straight in. I was like, jeez. I whenever I was doing it, I was like, Bali. You know, half the people are, you know, it's a little bit easier. Nice little digital nomad lifestyle. But no, here, fair play. But there's a lot of lessons in what you said there in terms of the power of the mind, man. It's so nuts, like so nuts. And obviously, not everyone's sitting thinking about, you know, walking a plane or being in the middle of Camino or wherever. Like, but apply it to everyday life. You know, no matter how big or how small, we've all got challenges.
100%.
But you can either decide to jump head first, or like little decisions, every little decision. Now, you obviously thought, oh, if I go home, I'm going to live with regret the whole time. That's quite, you know, that's a big scale decision. Whereas someone, even just snoozing the alarm or something so simple of just being like constantly backing up, that you don't believe in yourself, that you can actually do it, or you can't push through. That's such a, on a smaller scale, but still as powerful in your day to day and getting stuff done. That's crazy. Like
I got to positions in places I've never been in the Camino, and I'm still like trying to get used to them and understand them and analyze them, and being home in my comfort zone, like, and reflecting on that. But what that built for me was like a stack of undeniable proof of I am who I say I am. And the more you give up on those things, and that's completely stolen, by the way, like I think it was Goggins and Chris Williams said that, but like that is what you have to do, and that's what I knew I had to do. And it was almost like, yeah, I am scared, I am isolated, like I feel so alone. I want my parents, I want my mates, I want to be in Belfast with the boys doing medicine again, you know, going out for a few Guinness tonight. And I said to myself, like, yeah, like that would be nice, but who are you? Are you who you say you are? And can you see this through regardless of how tough it feels right now? And maybe that's like, I don't know, maybe some people say that's unhealthy, but I don't think it is. I think like it's nice to be aware of, you know, what your weaknesses are, what you're afraid of, or what what you find tough, and then to meet those head on and start building those wee, you know, checklists and those wee like bits of proof that I can conquer these. Whereas, as you say, if you snooze the alarm, if you go home from the Camino, that's just tearing those back down.
If you snooze the alarm, if you go home from the Camino, like it's too very broad. But you're so right, no, it's really, really true. But I was interested in what you said there in terms of you took the decision that you wanted to go solo for a bit, even though you'd probably done the hard part, which is what a lot of people struggle with, is meeting people. Now, that's all in your head, because it's never hard to meet people. I don't believe it's ever hard to meet people. As long as you go in, especially because everyone's doing the same thing, you build it up in your head like, oh, no, like, how am I going to find friends, blah, blah, blah. You will if you do it in the right way, and 100%. If you just go in and experience it and throw yourself into it. But what was in your mind? Was it the fact that you're kind of like, you like a challenge? You were like, I just wanna go out and experience it on my own. I wanna like really go through that hardship. I wanna go out and just be completely alone. How early into that did you regret it? And like, why did you decide to do that when you just met people like who you said were cool people that you liked?
That is a brilliant question. And when I sit back and like reflect on the Camino now, I do ask myself that, like, why did you decide to do that the second you met people? And the honest answer is, in a weird way, I like to make stuff as hard as I possibly can for myself to make sure I'm getting value. Like, I never want to go on an experience and not get the fullest experience or not get the most value out of it. So for me, genuinely, like, it was like 2 days of walking with them. This was like day 6 and day 7, and just pondering the fact of like, how crazy and scary would this be to do alone? You know, let's go and try it. And I was like, that would bring me so much more value. What if I get to the end and I regret not trying it alone? And so I went and done it. How long did it take me to realise that I made the wrong mistake? Probably about 30 minutes. And
straight in.
Literally straight in. And it was self-sabotage in a way. Like, I just met this, like, honestly, tremendous group of people, and they all know who they are, and we still have a WhatsApp group, and we have the crack, and gonna go over and see them next year and stuff. Tremendous group of people, and we'd shared so much in such a short period of time. I mean, you have no option to whenever there's nothing.
Exactly.
And then I decided to drop it all and go on myself. And I remember sitting that first night after leaving them, having a beer by myself in a town where there was nobody else. And just kind of like, again, just felt my heart go a wee bit faster. And went like, why did I do that? So then I stuck with it for like 5 days, I think, and then got to Burgos, the city in Spain, and it was walking into Burgos where I had like that day with the Americans I was talking about, not to be chopping and changing. That was probably my mental like breakdown on it, my first one. And I had a physical breakdown the day I was walking into Burgos, which is the first big city. I walked with this amazing Australian family, had such a lovely time. And they split to leave me to go to their hotel, and I was going to my hostel. And the second they split, because I knew I was in pain that day, but they were obviously hiding that from me. The second they split, my legs gave up, my feet like just like swell up beyond belief.
Yeah.
There was tears in my eyes. I had to put on my sunglasses walking into the city, like, to hide, like, the emotional, like, distress I was in. Like, kept picturing my family in front of me and just, like, walking towards them. And it was so surreal because I was going through all this in this own environment, and then I would look up and be like, there's people walking to school here, there's people going to their job, like, it was just a normal city.
Yeah.
But it was so insane to be in that environment. Like, it was so confusing.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to a song, Loud Places by Jamie XX, and it's just really spacey whilst I was doing this, because I needed something to take my mind off.
Yeah.
You know, this physical breakdown. I was shuffling into Burgos, and my glasses were like rose tinted, and the song was so spacey, and I just like thought it was this outer body experience. I was looking around at this big new city, and people beside me walking, and I was sitting with tears in my eyes going, what am I doing? And so that was when I rang my dad and goes, I might need a wee rest day here. So rang my dad, he was like, yes, stop being silly. And then rang my mates who were like 2 days behind on the schedule, and said when he's getting to Burgos, and they said 2 days. So it was either take 2 days of a rest day, which I didn't want to do because I was still like, you know, hurry up and get out of Spain, or keep going myself. And I just realized, like, no, there's no way I could do this alone. So I took 2 days in Burgos. We got ourselves an Airbnb, reunite with the mates, and it was like reuniting with the family. Like,
unreal.
And that for me was such a big lesson in the fact that, like, sometimes, like, it is so nice. Like, you always need people, and sometimes it's so nice to admit, like, I can't do this alone. You know, and that sounds cliche, but it's like I physically could not have done the rest of that alone, because I would have been in my head the whole time. And having people around you to speak to laugh with, and to look at the sights with, and just, you know, deeply in life with is so special. And I owe my Camino to them, and, you know, I think we all probably owe our Camino to each other. Like, I mean, you know, like the conversations we had, and, you know, we
deep, meaningful conversations are so
special
in different places as well. It's just like, it's nice.
And you see, whenever you've walked a 40k day, like through the Spanish desert, and you're like sunstroked, and, you know, you're like exhausted. And someone hits you with something they're like thinking about or dealing with, and it just becomes so much more real. And
puts it into perspective.
Perspective is the one thing because I'm so thankful to the Camino for. Coming back and having a completely different perspective on life. I feel like, as weird as this may sound, everything is heightened. So when I was on the Camino, exhausted in those states, music was heightened, art was heightened, landscapes were heightened, smells and sounds were all heightened, and now I've brought that back home. So when I go for a walk in the forest,
appreciate
home,
everything so much more.
You just feel it so much more. And it was something that in that life of like academic focus of like coming straight from school into uni, go, get your degree, you know, work so hard, that you take so much for granted, and you don't appreciate what's around you. So even a walk through the city, although there's so much hustle bustle, there's still so much beauty to be found there. There's still so many like wee bird songs in the air, and so much fresh air to breathe and be happy for. And you become obsessed with a world that isn't really the natural world, like, you know, like phones and uni and stuff, and
like a hamster in a way, kind of like.
And the Camino stripped me down of everything that I thought was important, made me analyze so much about myself, and that's what was tough, because I felt guilty for falling into the traps of like the modern world. So it's brilliant to have that perspective now, where I can, you know, enjoy the modern world, but also have this appreciation daily for like the natural world and what it actually does for your soul. You know,
man, that's really nice. It's a really nice way to put it, and I think it's so true. It is so true. Like, I want to go back to what you said about going solo. I think that's such a fascinating decision that you made, but I'm really keen to kind of hear, now that you know what you know, and you openly said it was the worst decision you'd ever made. I don't think if you were to do it again, you'd change it.
No.
Would you still do it again? Like, because it seems like you learned an awful lot from that, and it was like maybe horrific and maybe like awful at the time. But now that you know how horrific it's going to be, a lot of people would be like, right, well, I'll not make that decision again. Whereas, from what you've just spoke about, I have a feeling you would just do the exact same again, just because that hardship's where you kind of maybe got the most growth, and you felt like you pushed through the most.
The going solo and that hardship was where I got the most afraid, and then the reconnecting with friends and finishing the journey with them was one I
You got the most, yeah, exactly, which you wouldn't have had.
I wouldn't have had
if you just stayed with them.
Yeah. So if I had, it's funny, like you make so many decisions on a daily basis that affect your future and where you find yourself in the next couple of hours, in the next couple of days.
Butterfly effect, man. Butterfly effect. Mad.
And it's so beautiful to look back on that and go, what if I didn't do that? What if I didn't go solo? But at the end of the day, whatever you're looking back on, you've already done. So there's no point trying to figure out what you're going to do next in terms of like, whenever I get a decision like that again, I'm going to do it, because realistically you won't even realize you're getting a decision like that again. Obviously if I went back to the Camino and had those same friends, and on the 7th day I went, am I going to go solo? I would probably realize that that's the same scenario, but that scenario is going to present itself in a different way somewhere down the line. And whatever I decide to do in that moment, I will do, and then eventually I'll look back and go, oh, that's kind of like that time when I was on the Camino. So it really was self-sabotage, and it's actually hilarious to think back now. But I had no idea that it could be self-sabotage, and it was just naivety of searching for a challenge and searching of like, what about this? Like, I need to get the most out of this. I need to do this. Like, and I don't even know why I needed to do it. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know what I was searching for. Did I find what I was searching for? Well,
I don't think we ever find it.
I don't think I was searching for. Like, you just...
It's so true. But see that there, like, see the butterfly effect. I don't know whether it's my age. I'm not ancient or anything, but as I grow older...
What age are you?
28. 28. So I was chatting to someone. I still feel like 18, like starting uni. Like, I still feel like that, but I swear you just blink and I sound like someone... Like, I sound like someone in their 30s that would have spoke to me when I was 18 going, the best years of your life ahead of you, like, you'll blink and it'll pass. And now it's like, it's this hamster wheel, man. Like, you just kind of, you do have to have times. And I always find when I travel, I get it the best, where I kind of just, I'm present and, like, actually learn the most and actually, like, experience real kind of happiness. Whereas whenever you think you're happy and you're just kind of, like, going through the day-to-day life, it's very easy for a year to just disappear. But I feel like as I get older, I definitely, like, some people would call me an overthinker. I was chatting to a friend about this actually recently, and she said, she was just like, oh, you kind of, it's not like you'd overthink. She was being sarcastic. I would tend to overthink certain things. But I think a lot of the time I'm quite horizontal, laid back when it comes to, like, say, traveling. Like, I'll go to Bali, I'll go here. I don't think about the repercussions. But now I'm kind of more like, when you think of the butterfly effect, like, say, for example, when I was chatting to you and saying about moving to Australia, I think more about where that will lead than I did when I was 18, 21. Because when I moved to uni, I essentially went through adjustment. So I thought I was going to get bad grades, ended up getting really good grades. And on the last day, like, I had all my accommodation sorted, everything sorted to go to Plymouth, like, down the South England. And on the last day, I was like, oh, you can go to Leeds, which at the time was, like, the best for sports science. I had never been to Leeds. I'd never seen the uni. I'd never seen anything to do with Leeds. I was just like, I'm going to go there. Cancelled everything, moved there. And I always think back, like, I wouldn't have my friends. I wouldn't have started rowing maybe. Like, I wouldn't. And I didn't deep that at the time. I was just living it. Whereas now, moving to Australia would be a similar step in the sense of moving somewhere new, having to meet new friends, which doesn't bother me, which is exciting. But I'm kind of like, opportunities at home, opportunities here. Where's this going to lead? Who am I going to meet? What's my life going to look like in a year? And it's just crazy. I don't know where are you at when it comes to the butterfly effect in terms of thinking about, or do you just live in the moment and just be like, because that's what I tend to do, is just like, right, no, I just want to see how it goes. And I think that's one of the big joys of life. It's like, you don't know 100%. You don't know where things will lead. Because I think if you knew, like, we talk about 5-year plans, 10-year plans, if I could set a 5-year plan and I knew that everything was going to be ticked off and that's the way my life was going to go, I think you automatically just lose excitement 100%, for living straight away.
You lose a lot of emotions.
You
lose fear, you lose nervousness. Or,
You know,
the anxieties that arise for what is going to happen on this path. But with me and the butterfly effect, like, I really wish I could answer that question. But that's like a Jordan Peterson. That's like a Jordan Peterson type of deep dive into life right there. But I wish I could answer it in the sense that I could give you an honest answer, but it changes on a daily basis. So I am a tremendous overthinker, and that's probably one of my biggest fears right now, is losing years, like my young years, to overthinking. Which is something that I'm, like, working with and battling at the minute. But with regards to that, then that leaves me overthinking my future plans. So, like, September I have to go back to uni. Like, what am I going to do then? And since like what I've put myself through this year of traveling and like the events and the races and stuff. I've just came to this beautiful like kind of attitude of like, fuck it, we'll roll with it. Like we'll just do whatever we're doing right now. So there's an event that's came up that I've been entered into by one of my mates. Unknowingly in September when I'm meant to be going back to uni and start placement. Yeah. And like I'm in this nice mood now of like, well, life is so much bigger than uni, than I don't know, whatever car you do, what degree you do out there. That I'm gonna go fully for like that event, and whatever happens with uni down the line, we'll figure it out. Because right now, what do I want like to do in life is just to enjoy where I am presently. So am I going to bother worrying about what's going to happen in September? No. Like, you'll figure it out. You're not going to die. Yeah. And it's so hypocritical of me to say, because I am a severe overthinker. Yeah. But the butterfly effect for me is like a hilarious, like, funny thing as well. Yeah. Like, I think it's so funny to look back on the little decisions you make. And if you
your life could be completely different.
Like you've got all
crossing the road a different way, you could end up going it's just mental.
I was having a chat with my mate about this recently, and we were laughing, just like looking at like how we kind of met each other. And it's like, it's funny the little things you do that could drastically change your life. And if you can identify one thing, like one major thing, that was absolutely tiny in the moment, but without it you wouldn't be here. I think it's just such a gag, like, to look back on and say, like, it is. You can't then. I used to think, do I have to get worried about making sure that every little thing I do is correct? No, because as I say, like on the Camino that day I went solo, I had no idea how that would affect me. So you'll never have any idea in the moment of how it's going to affect you down the future, so that's why you shouldn't deep it, but you will have a brilliant experience of hindsight, like down the line, to look back on and go, so that was that moment. So that's what brought me here.
I know, and I think we create our own narratives in our head, don't we, of like, that's why this happened and that's why this happened. Sometimes we do it to make ourselves feel better, and sometimes we like to make it look like, that happened because I was meant to be doing this, and that's fine. But it's also okay to like just go through rough times, just for the sake of just going 100%. Through rough times, because I feel like you don't have to learn from everything. Sometimes I'm like, don't worry, there's a lesson in that. And I'm a positive guy. Like in my coaching, I'm always like, always look at the bright side. But I think a lot of people, especially in the winter, sometimes struggle. Like dark evenings, like that whole seasonal depression thing is real. And I think a big lesson for me anyway is sometimes it's okay to just sit in like, I'm not feeling okay, and there doesn't have to be like a bright side. It's just like, it's okay, but then also understanding that, do look at the bigger picture, because it's okay to feel like that, but it's not okay to remain like that and like sit in that for longer than you need to. Because if you do, then it's only going to go one way, and I think that's an important thing to kind of acknowledge.
100%. Like, you cannot resist bad times, and you cannot try to hold on to good times.
It's unrealistic. Like
everything passes. Like I've recently went through a bit of a stage of that. Like my first it was coming home from traveling, and it's just like my first kind of feeling of unknownness, lostness, no kind of like nothing in front of me, no carrot hanging in front of the donkey to keep me going. I just sat in it. Like I just experienced it every day and just thought about it and appreciated the emotions. And the scariest thing to do is to get real with some of the emotions, and then once you do that, you realize that they are harmless and they're just a fact of life. And realistically, sitting in a bad place, or like, becoming comfortable whenever you're not feeling just okay, or something's annoying you, or something's getting anxious, is just a part of life, I think, and it's not talked about enough, in the sense that everyone has it. Like everyone goes through it. Like, some people are better at hiding it than others, and when you get real with someone and you open up, that gives them an opportunity to open up too. So I think it is something that needs to be normalized more in society, is the ability to open up and appreciate, I was feeling crap that day, I had a really bad day this day, I was anxious about this, I was stressed about this, or I cried about this. And the reason why you need to that needs to be normalized is because those are just emotions that are part of life, and they're brought on by life. It doesn't make you different from anyone else, that you're having those emotions. And like one of my mates has been going through it recently, and I ended up opening up to him about something, and that gave him the gap in the door to go, boom, mate, look, okay, can we grab a coffee? And now it's like, it's just so mad that like we feel like we should have it all figured out, especially at a young age. Like, I mean, I'm in uni, I'm 22, and you feel like a big man when you're in uni. First year, second year, you feel like a really big man, like you're the boss then, right? And then you get to third year, fourth year, and your mates start going off and working, and you realize like, I am literally tiny, and I'm about to go off in this big bad world. And there's such a beautiful like humility that comes with that, in the sense of like, it's okay to be scared of stuff, and it's okay to be amazed by the world, and like how big and daunting it is, and the possibilities of what's out there. And it's so funny that nobody has it figured out. A great quote I heard. I always go to my parents for advice, right? A great quote I heard recently was, I was telling my mate that like, I always go to my parents. She's like, why? And I was like, just because like they just know, like they just know, like they get it, their experience. And I say, but mate, your family, your parents are going through life for the first time too. And I was like, how have I not noticed that? Like all these great people you look up to are older than you, smarter than you, more successful than you, whatever. All these people you compare yourself to or look for like guidance to, they're all going through it for the first time. So they don't have any answers. They only have experiences. And once you realize that we're all alone going through this for the first time together, it's easier to allow like yourself to be more vulnerable and susceptible to being afraid or being worried or being nervous about stuff. And I couldn't believe it. Your parents are going through life for the first time too, and I was like, you idiot.
I know.
How did you not know this? You expect them to have all the answers.
I love that. That's so true. I think I seen that. I think I seen that quote. It was speaking about a mum specifically, and it's like, just remember that your mum's going through. She's living life for the first time too. And I remember seeing that, and it's like, so true. And look, don't get me wrong, motivational quotes, they float about, and there's some cringy ones, there's some cliche ones that they're there. But whenever you actually deep the meaning behind some of them, you're like, you know what? But I think we hold our parents to this like
such a
higher standard. And it's so funny, like when my mum tells me something, it automatically like puts me at ease. Like if I'm ever anxious, or if I'm ever like even health anxiety or whatever, anything that anyone's going through, if I kind of feel like panicky, or I'm kind of wondering, is this the right way, or feeling stressed, or I'm overworked, and my mum will go, there's you'd be fine, like it'd be way worse, or blah blah blah, and my mum will say something, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm totally sweet. Like my mum used to tell me not to eat 2 apples growing up, because like she would be like, no, you'll be really sick if you eat 2 apples. I went for years, and I was like, if one of my mates would eat 2 apples, I was like, man, here, on your own head, be it. But you might pass away, because my mum used to tell me. And then it all comes back from what her mum told her, what her parents told her, and it's all passed down. And it's just like, it's funny, but you're right that they're living life for the first time too, and that's there's something kind of really nice about that, in the sense, like, it's just, I don't know, it's crazy.
For me, I guess, like, you put your parents in such a high regard that you want to do everything for them and make them proud and happy. So that kind of maybe makes it feel like they have the answers, and you have to meet like their demands in a way, and that's definitely something that I've dealt with. But then to come and appreciate that they're going through life for the first time too, they have their own stuff that they deal with. So in a way, as selfish as it sounds, it doesn't really matter what I do as long as I'm happy, and we love each other. I don't have any I don't have any like requirements to meet on their part, because they don't have the answers. Like, there is no one right way to do it. But it's hilarious, like, as you say, like, I'm the exact same. Big up Mumsy, like, everything she says will completely put me at ease. My dad, he's the same, but he'll just say a hardship, like,
more logical thing.
Come on, you big round. But like anything Mum says, like, she's always got a very good way of relaxing me, and that would be such an interesting relationship to examine. Like, I think it's probably the same for a lot of people. Like, you always have that one person who, to you, it feels like does have the answers. Because I do know myself, when I chat to my mum about stuff, it feels like she's always got the answer. And she always baffles me. I'm like, how did you know, like, to say that? And it's a beautiful thing, because although we're all going through life for the first time, nobody has those answers. I think everyone has that one person in their life who, to them, it seems like does have the answers. Who seems like they can confide anything in, and get the exact bit of advice or bit of compassion that they needed. That will just help them go, okay.
And it could be different for everyone. Like, it's very fortunate to have parents in your life. I know a lot of people don't have that, and that's one thing that we probably take for granted. We probably do. You've got someone thinking about you, you've got people thinking about you, you've got healthy relationships. because a lot of people don't have that. But I guess loads of people find it in different people. It could be a friend, it could be someone a little bit older, it could be an uncle, it could be an auntie, whatever. But it is true, and I've always explored the option. I would love to get Mum on the podcast, but she just wouldn't come on. She just wouldn't. She wouldn't. I would love to do it. Like, I'd love to just sit down someday and just have like a deep chat with her and just put a camera on. She wouldn't let it go anywhere. Like, but it would be interesting. It's so true. I guess you can't buy that experience that they have. Like, no matter how great we think we are, the decisions we're making are blah blah. Like, they've just been there. They've been here longer. They've experienced things, and they just have like a wise way to put. In my personal experience, anyway, maybe some people don't think that about their mum, but I definitely think.
Yeah, but it's like you said, like for us, it's our mums clearly, but like for anyone else, it's someone else. And realistically, I didn't appreciate that until I went away and done the Camino, done the Ultra, everything, and I scared the shit out of myself. And it wasn't until I really need that person that I realised just how much it is my mum for me. So sometimes you have to go to those, crappy places.
To figure it out.
You lose your sight of yourself, who you are. You're really under pressure. You're really worried. You're in the trenches, and then that person will come to you, in some way or another. So, like, if someone maybe listening to this hasn't found that person, maybe you're too comfortable right now. Do you know what I mean? I know I totally get that. I was too comfortable, far too comfortable in uni. Like, it's such a protective force field. Going to uni, having a degree, you feel like you're sweet, you're protected from the world, when in actuality you're not. So this year I took myself out of that bubble, forced myself into the real world, and realised that, this shit is real. Like, there's scary stuff out here. It's a big bad world, and you do need to be strong. And I definitely took my relationship with my family for granted before I went travelling.
100%.
And I don't mean that bad way. I wasn't an ass to my
No, I think that's completely it's just like
oh yeah, they're down the road. Like, I'm up in Belfast. I'll go down and see them this weekend. Well, what's the crack of you? Like, hope you're well. Like, see you next week. But now it's like I don't want to leave the family house now I'm home. I feel like I owe them so much. Like, thank you so much for always texting me every morning that I was away on the Camino. And I feel like I do have a bit of regret without needing to regret, maybe. Just going damn, you were taking a lot of stuff for granted before you left. And no, I mean the other thing is, there's no point looking at it negatively. There's no point going feeling guilty or regretting it. Just appreciate the beautiful opportunity that you had to appreciate them and do it from here on out. It's like, still got so many years, hopefully, to give back to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Not take it for granted.
Exactly. I think it's all about you don't appreciate your people, I say people because it might not be parents, but people close to you, until you get taken away. And it could be something as little as, I remember when I was at uni and I was sick for the first time. I remember I had food poisoning, and I was probably cooking chicken for the first time myself. I was lying in my room, and you've got your mates around you, which is great, but it's a bunch of boys in a house. It's not the same. And I was all I want is my mum to make me toast and tea. That's all I want. And I had the same experience in Bali when I got Bali belly. Bali belly, what people say it doesn't exist, whatever. It's essentially food poisoning just because you're not used to the bacteria. I know locals and Indonesian people don't like the term Bali belly, but I was lying there, and you couldn't even barely get bread in the supermarket, and the tea wasn't local tea. I rang Mum and I was like, Mum, I just need to speak to you while I just sit here and drink water and just because it is so true until you get taken away, and you kind of really have to appreciate it. And that's why I always say, it's so easy to be cross at your mum or cross at your parents in a small little moment when you're maybe around them all the time, but you cannot take them for granted. I know it's very easy to kind of have little arguments and little disagreements, but since I've been away and since I kind of look at the big picture, I'm always no. I'll always catch myself and I'll be give my mum a hug at random times throughout the day, and mum's lovely. You don't know how much they appreciate these things 100%. Because you take them for granted. Don't give them a hug or don't tell them how much you love them. If you go 6 months, a year without telling them that, it's too long. Because you have to show appreciation for because them little things mean so much to them, and I know that because I just know the way my mum is, and I know that the little things mean so much more than anything lavish. But I also think there's another side to this, in the sense of, I think it's very important and we all know mummy's boys and we all know daddy's girls that kind of stay at home, or they don't want to go out and kind of find their own feet.
Yeah.
I do also think it's important to kind of carve your own path, because some people, maybe you might get opinions from your parents who'll be like, don't solo travel or don't do this. They can have fear too.
Yeah.
Like they can be, maybe they didn't solo travel.
Yeah.
And they won't mean to put their thoughts onto you, but they might just have never experienced what might be good for you.
Yeah.
It wasn't for them. So I do think it's important to kind of carve your own path and be like, I'm very fortunate in the sense of my parents kind of like, do what you need to do, learn from it, go away.
Yeah.
Like mum would be like, oh, you know, I'd love if you didn't move to Australia, but I would never hold you back from doing it, because they obviously want you to get as close as possible.
It's lovely, like.
But it's just, you can't just always be like, oh, I need to be at home all the time.
Yeah.
Because if you did that, the world's a big place. Yeah. Like, I'm a big believer that you gotta get out and experience it. And I also, my mum always says she loves, because mum wouldn't like flying, like dad wouldn't really fly much either. Like, they would have never been to Indonesia, never been to Australia. And mum loves living through me in the sense of she sees things and she's like, I might never see these. Yeah. So that's, you know, you're giving back in a way there too. But you got to carve your own path. Don't just stay at home because you think that's what your parents want, because ultimately they want you to be happy.
Yeah, 100%.
Ultimately.
100%. Yeah, my mum always says like her goal is to give me roots and wings, not loot and things. So
nice.
That's a good
Your
one.
mum is a wise one.
Yeah, my mum's wise. Yeah, she's wise. But like, I mean, that's what I'm doing right now. Like, I've been spreading my wings there for a year.
Yeah.
And I'm back home for Christmas, enjoying my roots, and like, it's so good to come home and reconnect and like, you know, admit to yourself like, yeah, that was really tough, that was really sick. I'm so happy to be home and around the people I love in my comfort zone. But I'm also kind of ready to go and spread my wings again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like the best of both worlds. Like, you know, you need a little bit of everything to make balance.
How much more do you appreciate home when you've been away though?
Tremendously. Like
so much.
Like watching a movie last night with fire on. Like, obviously I would have loved doing that. Yeah. But now it's like I need to do that. Do you know what I mean? It's such a lovely feeling. You feel silly for not noticing how special those moments are.
I know.
Before you go away.
I know.
But it's true. Like, you do not realize until you get stripped of everything. You know, whenever you expose yourself to new situations and get out of your comfort zone, until you get stripped of everything, you will not realize the people that hold you up and keep you standing. So I think that's an important reason for people to get out of their comfort zones, to test themselves. Like, you know, not just to find out more about themselves, but to find out more about the people around them and find more of an appreciation for the people around them, the people who have got you to this point and who will get you to wherever you want to go in the future. Yeah.
Even in terms of appreciating where you live, like, I know growing up, it's very easy to be like, Northern Ireland's a hole, home is a hole, fitness hole. I still say fitness hole, but it's like, I've never appreciated fitting the forest more than since I went away and came back, or like since I go traveling and come back. Because Indonesia's amazing. It's like totally out of this world. Like, it was the first time, because I've traveled around Europe, but going to Indonesia was the first time I've really seen culture change. Like, really seen, because a lot of Europe, like Madrid, Barcelona, like Portugal, they're different, but they're all still Western culture. It's still very similar. Going to Indonesia and seeing like just holes in the road, like 6 foot drops, health and safety doesn't exist. Like guys riding around on mopeds with like their whole belongings and 3 kids sitting on their head, like, and you're just like, then when you come back, you appreciate what you have that maybe someone else that comes here. Because I know whenever my English mates came here for the first time, really nice day, probably the only hot day we had the whole year. We went to like the North Coast, Giant's Causeway, all the typical touristy stuff, and they were like, Tim, why would you ever want to leave here? Like, this is incredible. And I'm like, you know what, like, I want to leave here, but I also do get where you're coming from in terms of the appreciation of Ireland in general is incredible, and you don't appreciate, and I haven't seen half of it. Like, in terms of down south, I haven't seen, like, from having Marius in the podcast and Kevin, and like, in terms of what they say, like, they say places and like, oh, this is their favorite beach or their hidden spot or their favorite hike. I'm like, I've never been to any of these places, and it's on the same.
That's special as well, because like you have this idea that, like, you know, because of what you know, society and all, you think like traveling is going to the most remote place in the world. Like, that's what solo adventure and traveling is. But a solo travel could be down to that place now that you haven't been yet, and sitting for a while on the beach by yourself. Like, that is solo traveling in essence. But I don't know if it's the same for everyone else. This could just be me talking about myself. Like, I used to think like, oh, why would you bother doing that? Because sure, that's only a couple of minutes down the road. But like, if you put it into perspective and you realize what it is, you know, you can travel to anywhere in the world. There's no one place you have to go to bring you these like lovely experiences and these moments in solitude and these moments in bliss where you can, you know, experience life pretty fully. But yeah, I loved when I was away. People ask me where I was from, like Ireland. Yeah, Fintna. It's tiny town. You never know it. Like, I love sharing that with people, and I love where I'm from. And it just made me so happy to come back home too. And it was funny, I was in town yesterday, and I bumped into a mate that I hadn't seen in like 5 years. And
is town Oma to you?
Oma, yeah.
Yeah.
So he had changed.
Fitness not really big enough to know.
It's not. He had changed so much, and I was like, mate, what's the crack? Like, what have you been doing? Like, where are you? And turns out he's been living abroad for like since I last seen him, and he's having a tremendous life. He's loving it. He's a ski instructor now and stuff like that. But I was telling him about my travelling this year, and he goes like, "Oh yeah, mate, it sucks to be home, doesn't it?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, fuck, I hate being home."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, actually, I'm really enjoying being home.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful to be back, and it's nice." He's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, and I was telling him about all my experiences, and like, it's so nice to be back where I grew up with a whole new perspective on life.
Yeah.
And I thought you'd be like, "Yeah, that's a good point." Actually, you just went, huh, "That's cute."
I just killed
it. You know, so it was just interesting. Like,
you put the feelers out there for you and him to have a deep, meaningful chat.
No, it was good. It was good chat. But it's just funny in the sense that like, people have different relationships with where they're from and what they want in life.
And that's another thing. Like, everyone has different experiences. Like, as I said, like, we're very fortunate to have like homes that we want to come back to, and you kind of don't appreciate. Some people maybe couldn't wait to get away, and they're living an incredible life somewhere else, and that's maybe their home now. Like, no, we're not in a position to say, you know, this is the way things should be. This is what podcasts are all about. It's about sharing your experiences, and if people learn from it, or if people take a little bit of value from it, that's great. But there is no right or wrong. Like, in terms of the traveling thing, I totally get some people don't want to travel. Some people don't want to go to the Camino. Probably a lot of people don't want to. I've never heard of it.
I don't want to go back.
And some people like don't want to go. Like, when I say I was in Bali, they were like, some people are like, "Oh, I would love to go there," and some people are like, "No interest."
Yeah.
And in my head, this is something I feel very strongly about, and might not be right. This is just purely my opinion. I think traveling and solo travel is like essential part of life, like essential, but not necessarily even solo. Just seeing different parts of the world. Like, because every time I go, I know the age-old saying, you find yourself when you're traveling, like all that, like random, like you go and end up in a flipping forest, like a monk or something. But every time I go, I see different things. I speak to different people. Maybe it's because all the people are kind of like have a similar mindset. I'm like, I come back and I'm like, damn, I really didn't know anything, and I get more and more self-aware every time I go different somewhere else.
The way I see it is like, this is probably gonna be tough to put into words, but you don't find yourself when you travel. There's nothing like, obviously there's who you are inside, but the answers are not all within you. You have to build using all the resources of the world into who you want to become. And the way to do that is through traveling. Like, you build from those new people you chat to, those new places you go, those new emotions you feel, and you get more of respect for life, and you learn more. Yeah. So you know, unfortunately, there's no magic switch, and that was something that I like had to realize. Like, when I ran my last ultra, like you put these ideas out there of things that are going to help you find yourself and help you flip the switch and realize it and have this magic epiphany. But realistically, there's none of that. And life is just full of different experiences, situations, feelings, lessons. You know, you may set some goals and you may succeed in them, or you may fail in them. Either way, you're going to learn, and it's going to craft you into who you are. So there's no magical portal you can walk through in some different location or different scenario that's going to create you into this different person. It's just a whole accumulation of different building blocks building you up into the person that you'll eventually become. And however you decide to do that is up to you. And going solo traveling or traveling with your mates or anywhere is a bloody brilliant way to quickly grab a few building blocks and go, wow,
that's
there's so much here.
It's a really good way to put it. Yeah, you're right, because happiness isn't in the place that you're going to.
Yeah.
It's like exposing yourself to different things that make you understand who you are more.
Yeah.
That's nice. You worded that very well. You started it with that it's going to be hard to word, but you ended up wording it very well. But
thank you.
In terms of looking back and going like 2020, start of 2023, I can't believe it's 2023, that's crazy. 2023, you were on the podcast before. This is quite nice because it's kind of like a year. How would you kind of, it would actually be really nice to kind of look back and try and clip little bits from both, but
100%.
Will I have the time to do that? Who knows? We'll look into it, but 2023 to 2024, where do you see, kind of looking back, where do you see the progress? Do you feel like you're happier now? Do you feel like you've made steps in the right direction? Do you feel like you appreciate, where are you at with kind of like uni, the whole medical thing? Like where's your head at now compared to where it was a year ago?
So
that's a very big question, by the way. It's broad, like
big. Why have you done this?
Trying to encapsulate a year into like,
and I'm not going to be able to do it in the sense I'm not going to be able to give an accurate description of where I am now and where I was. But I remember last year when I came in the podcast and you asked me to tell a bit about myself, and you're like, who are you? What are you doing? And I just waffled some rubbish about 21-year-old guy. I'm doing medicine. Also make content. And the thing is, I thought like I had an idea of what I was doing. And the only difference from now and then is, right now, I have such an appreciation of the fact I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I don't have a clue who I am or where I'm going. And that's the most lovely thing that I've learned this year is like, it is so okay to be like completely lost and mystified by like the potential of where you're going and the opportunities that lie ahead. Like, I think it's just a big serving of self-awareness that I've got this year.
Yeah.
Because I didn't...
That is actually so true, because... I remember, I'm having a bit of a flashback to the first podcast, and I remember when you said, I think I put a clip out about it, you were essentially a 21-year-old guy figuring it out. So I think I remember putting up a reel, and I remember titling it, Figuring It Out. And I could sense that you had guilt about not knowing what you wanted to do.
Mate, that question scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I was like I don't know what I am. Like
You felt like you needed... I feel like when you go on a podcast, sometimes you kind of feel like you need to... know what you're at, know what you're 100%. Doing. But now the fact that you've came a year on, and you have the awareness to go, I don't like. I'm just enjoying the moment. I'm just like that's massive steps forward.
It feels so nice. Like, because I think this is opening up a whole new kind of worms. But I think uni life, and I only use uni life as an example to go back on because that's what I'm comparing, my life so far to. So like that traditional uni life of like pushing for degrees and stuff like that is so fabricated. Like you think you're an adult, you think you're out in the big world, but you're realistically just
don't have a clue.
You don't have a clue. And I was sitting downstairs last year and waffled some rubbish in response to that question about like 21-year-old guy doing medicine, doing content. I guess I'm just figuring it out. But you actually hit the nail on the head. I did have a guilt or uneasiness saying that, and it made me feel weird in the sense that I don't know where I'm at. And this year, if you ask me who I am, I'll probably just turn around and go, I'm Conall. That's all I can really say. I'm me. I don't really have any other labels I can attach to that right now. I'm enjoying life a lot more because I've went through probably the toughest year of my life in so many different and wonderful ways, and that has just brought an appreciation for life and appreciation for the current moment. And again,
you're still the most aesthetic guy on Instagram.
Thank you.
That's not like that was true last time. It's still true now. So you haven't lost that.
Cheers, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, that you threw me off there.
Sorry, man.
But it's an appreciation for life, an appreciation for the current moment, which is again hypocritical for me to say because that sounds like I'm sitting every day in the present, but it's not. Like I wake up worrying about stuff that I shouldn't be. Yeah. But because I'm on this year out in this new uncomfortable position where life is going on in uni, my mates are cracking on by themselves. My family's still going to work and out there, and I'm just here what am I doing? Making videos on the internet? And there is still that uneasiness that comes with it that can provoke those worries about the past and the future. And I just have to remind myself every day, breathe. Where are you? You're here. What time is it? It's now. You can't be anywhere else. Who am I? I'm me. Yeah. And you just have to just keep hammering that into yourself and just keep appreciating that, because it is the only underlying, like, you know, fact is like you can only be in this moment. So why you worry about anything else? Like,
yeah,
you know. And I think when I answered that question last year of who I was worrying about like, oh crap, yeah, where am I actually going? But in reality, it doesn't matter. It's
and it's I think we can get bogged down in trying to think of like, right, I need to have my stuff together here. I need to know what I'm at.
Yeah.
And sometimes as you get older, it's just like, gee, like different things come up. You can't just it's like what I said at the start. You can't have a 10-year plan and just stick to it meticulously, because you could do something tomorrow that influences the next day.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's just like, it's appreciating them kind of little small moments, which I always harp on about. And just, if you can't enjoy, you know, a cup of coffee on a cold morning, you're not going to enjoy, like, you know, the big things in life, or the Lamborghinis, or these fancy things, or these big houses that we kind of set ourselves up like, I'll be happy when blah 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 blah. Yeah. It's not the case. But in terms of, you done well there to save that too when I put you off. I just had to say the most aesthetic man on Instagram. It just came to my mind. I was like, I have to tell this man, he needs to know.
It's not true though.
No, it is. No, it is true, guys.
I can name a handful of bodies. Like.
No, it is true. It's so true. But in terms of, so reflecting on the year that's just passed, and so much development in terms of awareness and things like that, how do you see next year panning out? Like, what, or is it just a case of now, maybe, because I probably asked you that last time, I was like, what's your plans? And you maybe said do a few long runs, you know, make content. Where's the head at now in terms of, and this isn't you saying this is what I want to do, but just like, what are you thinking for next year? What's the kind of rough?
This could really throw you off now, because I owe you one.
Jeez, yeah, I love that.
What were you chatting about just before you asked me that question? Because you brought up this kind of thought that I had, and it was something that I had after the ultra that I ran there. It's about that idea of like you. So this is probably going to sound off topic, but
man,
you
it's all good.
You set goals, right? Yes. So sorry, you were saying about like a 10-year plan. So,
yeah.
You know, whilst that's like probably unrealistic to be able to set an accurate 10-year plan. Actually, it's completely unrealistic to set an accurate 10-year plan. It is still important to have those goals, but the one thing that like I was caught off guard by is the illusion of goals. So it's, again, like you described with those things, I'll be happy when, although I wasn't setting goals like I'll be happy when I get a car or something, I was setting goals like maybe I'll be a different person, or I'll be happy when I have got real myself. I was running an ultra. Yeah, that seems like a healthy way to do it. But in the sense of setting goals and hoping for this, you know, magic portal that I was chatting about that opens up in the middle of it. Yeah. I caught myself in the middle of the ultra going like, where is this like amazing realization? Where is this? And then I realized it wasn't coming. So I just put my head down and finished the race and was all happy. And the next morning woke up and wrote in my journal this passage that I named The Void, because I woke up in this kind of void of like, wow, I devoted my whole life for the last couple of months to that, feeling like this would transport me to this, you know, new kind of lifestyle and be this new person. And I didn't have a moment in the race. And I was kind of like confused by that. And I was like, well, where do I go now? And I realized that you set goals not to reach a destination. You set goals to see how much you can commit to over that time frame, and you will grow over that time frame of setting a goal. But you will never know when, and it'll be little cumulative things that will add together to create, like, make you into this new person. You'll never see the changes. Yeah. But if you can really think back to where you were at the start of it, you'll be able to realize that you've changed. Yeah. And so I just sat there in that void of like, wow, okay, there is no one thing I'm going to be able to do that is going to fix everything and give me the answers that I need. So I guess life is just this amazing, you know, accumulation of experiences. Yeah. And then to bring it into your question, 2024, where do I go from here? I was just like, what's next? So all that remained for me after the ultra was a void of like, wow, okay, that's kind of a weird realization. Yeah, you know? Yeah. That it still takes work to realize when you grew, and then just like that question of what's next. So for me now, I think it's just like increasing the distance. So I've got a few events coming up, a few races that I've signed up for, and they're going to get progressively longer. Doing those races with some amazing people that I've met over this year out traveling, which is sick. Yeah. The distance is going to increase, but I'm also going to take a new approach to my traveling this year of I'm going to go and do like purpose-driven quality trips for a week to 2 weeks, like an experience, an endeavor, like something tough, and enjoy that fully in the moment. Instead of going for quantity, which is what I've done this year, trying to go away for a month or two at a time and thinking like, oh, that's proper traveling. When it's not, like, you know, there is no proper way to travel, but I definitely thought like, oh, where are you going? Are you going somewhere for 3 months? Mate, you're class. That's traveling.
Yeah.
You know, whereas it's not like you can go away for a weekend and have an amazing experience.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do this year. Is like I've got a lot of races. The distance is going to get longer because I think maybe ultras could be my wee thing of like that's how I go and learn about myself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use them over the course of this year, increase the distance, and go be very purpose driven, like in terms of I'm going here for 2 weeks to enjoy this experience and to be fully in it, and then I'm going to come home and give myself 3 weeks to recount and reflect, because that's something I didn't do. Like after I finished that Camino, mate, it's the same with the Camino. I walked in Santiago, which is like the cathedral, Santiago de Compostela is the city, and it's this cathedral of St. James where you finished it. And I stared up at the building, and it was majestic, and the rain was coming down, it was class. But I did that. I was like, oh, I feel kind of empty. Like I was like, where is this? Like, where is this like all-encompassing feeling of joy and like revelation? And it wasn't there, and it was so tough to deal with. I was like, what a random.
Why do you feel like that was?
Because it's not about the destination. Because you think that when you get to this place, you're gonna be happy, and I tell myself every day, like there is no like place, there's no finish line where you're gonna be happy. It is the journey that you have to learn to love. The person who loves walking will walk further than the person who has destination. That classic, right? But that's exactly what I had to learn the Camino. And it's funny, I went straight into the ultra and completely forgot it already. But I was walking every day, and I was growing every day. Whenever I was crying in a forest by myself, or whether I was skipping down the motorway with my best mates at sunset, drinking a bottle of red wine, you know, finishing up for the day. And I was growing every day then. So when I got to Santiago and there was nothing, I was so confused. But I had to look back, and I had to look back at the photos of the first day and go, whoa, okay, you have changed, you have grown. There was something along there. You won't be able to pin it down. There's going to be a multitude of factors that led to who you were walking in Santiago. And if I had that appreciation, and maybe if I go back and do the Camino again, I'll know that when I walk into Santiago, it's not about what it gives to me, it's about the person I walk in as, and I'll feel, you know, more content in the fact that I know my growth's already done, and this is just a physical like celebration of like, well done, you made it. So
no, I think you're so right. Like, I feel like awareness and progress comes in so many different forms. I think goal setting, like that kind of paralysis you can get whenever you kind of have so many goals, and then you end up like going for none of them, and it's just like you feel a little bit lost. I think you're spot on in the sense of like if you look back over a 3-year period, maybe you haven't hit a goal that you've set out. Maybe it wasn't a goal for you. Maybe it's not something that was meant for you. But in terms of looking back, we're our own harshest critic, right? So we always look for the negatives. But if you look back at your life where you were 3 years ago, there will always be things that you've made massive leaps and bounds on, but you just don't appreciate them in the moment. Like you don't appreciate the awareness, because maybe it's not tangible as well. Maybe it's not like I wanted this and I've got this and it's there, and it's tangible. Intangible goals are maybe harder to gauge because it's progress in your mind. That's what I always say to my clients as well. Everyone appreciates I've dropped 2 stone. Everyone appreciates I'm lifting 100 kilos, not 80 kilos now. Everyone appreciates I'm running a 25-minute 5K, not a 30-minute 5K. But they don't actually appreciate, and I say this all the time, especially around Christmas, emotional eating, all these things. Look back to where you were, how you see your progress, how you see yourself, how you think about yourself when you look in the mirror. No one thinks about them things because they're all so obsessed. We all are with physical goals.
Yeah, and physical, I like that one, like tangible assets. Like, tangible like assets that prove your growth, which don't exist if you're growing internally. And you know, one thing that I've learned is the only tangible asset I'll ever get from it is a thing I call like the silent smile. So it's like, whenever you have a moment where you're alone and you reflect and you look back and then you go like, okay, I've grown, and you have that wee butterflies in your stomach, that way be like, okay, we're doing this, like we are progressing, and it's a silent smile and a quiet confidence that you then carry on into whatever you do next. That's the only kind of tangible like kind of medal I've ever been able to take from any goals I've set for myself. But I think it's why transformation pictures for me I always sit on the fence with them, because
it's obviously front end what people see, and physical transformation is important, and it helps with confidence and all the rest, and ultimately it's a picture of health, but sometimes it might not be, and sometimes lifestyle progress is harder to kind of get across. Like, I would much rather have something like my program is very lifestyle based. Like, Commit to 90 is all about maybe having a bad relationship with food, maybe, you know, not liking what you see in the mirror, or maybe just like quitting a job because you hate it and moving into something you're passionate about, or moving career. That's what my program's all about. But transformation pictures are always used to sell something like this. This is how you can look here, and this is how you can look there. Whereas it's always behind the lens. I think it's more important to look at weight. And I would much rather someone experience that than someone lose 2 stone, stand in different lighting and look a little bit better, and be like, whoop-de-doo, this is what you can do. That's great, and it's a part of it, and I want my clients to all, you know, look better and feel better in themselves and like what they see in the mirror. But life is so much more than scale weight, how you look. Like, it's so much more, and you can look great, but on the inside, like a crash diet, lose 2 stone, like have very little water weight, be completely lean, and you're like, I look amazing. Trust me, there's a lot of depressed bodybuilders out there. There's a lot of people that look amazing that aren't, and that's why it's so important to focus on the mind as well. That's why mindset plays such a big part in kind of progress, because it doesn't sound as good. It doesn't sound as sexy, like promoting this transformation picture, like abs and shredded, but it's super, super important. Like,
yeah, mate. That kind of hits home on me, to be fair, because whenever I was younger, I was really out of shape, and then I decided to get in shape. But I decided to get in shape now. On reflection, I decided to get in shape for other people. I thought it, like, you know, to be accepted, to be like looked at fondly, I have to look a certain way, and it was shit, because it just brought about so much insecurity in my body. Like, I think whenever I got in shape, I was almost more insecure, you know. And so now, to go back to your question about 2024, the thing for me is, like, I am so excited to just live and to train, to use my body the way it's meant to be, you know, to train with purpose and to train with passion for, like, really tough endurance events, to see how far I can take the body, like, because it's a wonderful thing that we have. Like, the body's a miracle, but we don't test it enough. Like, I want to see how far I can run. I want to see how long I can keep going for. I want to see how many days on end I can, like, run and not sleep for. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is stuff that uses the body for the amazing things it can do, instead of uses it as this kind of plastic, like, you know, thing that's meant to look cool and meant to look a certain way. And I think I, like, you know, I regret doing that, because that was definitely my training when I was young, which is probably for a lot of people, like, and it'll take a while to realize it. Like, it's not, you're not doing that for you. You're doing that because you're conscious of how people are looking at you. And that was a really sad thing I had to appreciate in the Camino. But again, it's another beautiful thing that I can go, okay, well, 2024 is going to be the year of functionality and enjoyment of my body, and I don't care how I look in those moments. On the Camino, I dropped a lot of weight, and I was really skinny. I was throwing the calories in me, but I was burning like 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day. Like, I couldn't keep up with it. And however, my legs were like steel. Like, my joints felt really good. My ankles weren't clicking. And I was like, this is class. Like, this is just a completely different adaptation of my body to the situation I put myself in. I think that's what I want to experience this year. Like, the joy that we can do so much more than we give ourselves credit for. But to do that, we often have to give in to the environment and experience in which we find ourselves, which we often don't want to do, which I used to not want to do, because I didn't want to drop weight and get skinny and you know, look a certain way. I was like, I have to keep this certain body that, you know, society thinks is cool and attractive, because I was very insecure as a kid in terms of how people looked at me. So then that was just brought forward in my training, and I wouldn't say I regret that, but I'm just really happy now that I've seen the flaw in that.
We've all been there, though. Excited. We've all been there. Like, I was doing sit-ups by the sofa to get a six-pack for girls.
I used to watch How to Get a Six-Pack in One Workout.
Oh, yeah, man.
I was showing to my brother.
Worry. We've all been there.
I was showing my brother, I was like, do you think this one's going to work? Like, look at the end.
Abs. I used to read Men's Fitness. I used to cut out little diet plans and, like... we've been there. But I think it now, like, as you grow older, and movement, exercise is such a privilege. Like, I make reels about this all the time, and I feel like it's like anything. It's like going back to what we were speaking about. You don't appreciate these things until you get them taken away, or like something that, like, and life is in the grand scheme very short. So appreciate your body when you have it. And I think there's no better feeling. Like they talk about runner's high, and they talk about like the feeling after exercise. You got to experience that. I see it firsthand with clients that will say to me on a call, "I will never run." Yeah. Like they adamantly say, "I will never run. I am not a runner. I am not made to run." And I'm like, "You will." Oh, trust me. I actually just smile and I go, "Okay, fair enough. Whatever." Yeah. 6 months later, Tough Mudder, half marathon, 5K. They're like, I don't know why I never gave this a go. Like, and it's not just necessarily running; it could be anything, high rocks, whatever.
Yeah, I love running, but I love so much other stuff. But I think one brilliant thing I've learned this year, and I feel privileged to learn at a young age. Like, why would you ever say no to anything? Yeah. You don't know how you're going to react to that, and genuinely,
unless it's dodgy.
That goes without saying.
Yeah.
But anything, yeah. So what you're saying there, runner's high, moving your body, yoga, like anything like that for me used to be this thing that I thought like is good because like it has reps, it makes you more flexible, you get stronger, whatever. Like there's tangible stuff of growth and development here. But I realized this year that it's not, it's an experience. Like everything like that is an experience. That's not like, you know, your time on your time after a race is not a reflection of how much you enjoyed that experience. Like your feeling inside you is what's more important. So like sometimes I just start running without a watch because it's just so nice to be out there and to feel it. And there's a wee saying I've been saying to myself recently is get lost. Like I love that feeling, and you can get lost in so many different ways, but it's so important to strip yourself off like the distractions of everyday life and go and get lost. Be it a run, a walk in the forest, a bike ride, swimming, music, art, anything that puts you in that flow state where you lose all consciousness and awareness of your thoughts and you're just doing and existing is such a beautiful place to be. Yeah. And whatever that is for you, like hold on to that and don't lose sight of it. Because when it gets tough, that's what you'll need. Like you'll need those running shoes, or you'll need your daily swim and stuff, and it's important to use it as much as we can, I think. Yeah. Like, and
also I always say to people, you don't have to do exercise, you get to do it. Like it's something that I think we can get bogged down in yoga, all these things, and it's like, oh, I have to do that to get to here. No, switch your mindset. How you speak to yourself, how you see things is so powerful, and just be like, no, I get to do it. And once you start to feel the benefits of it, like I guarantee you maybe thought at some stage ultra running was never in your vision. Yeah. Like there's 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers, 70 kilometers. I seen you put up on your Instagram story something about 200 something kilometers or something.
When?
Or
I wasn't meant for that.
Your plan for next year? Something to do, like some big long race or something?
Yeah, right. Well, I'll tell you my plan for next year because I wasn't gonna.
I thought I'd uncovered a secret there.
No, you didn't. But because someone else texted me about that, and I was like, "How did someone know? How did they know?" So I was gonna keep it all hidden. But when will this be coming out?
In January, probably.
Why? I'll just say it anyway. Because so I was gonna keep it hidden. I don't know why. I just thought it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Elusive. I like that.
This is it. That's what I'm trying for. But I mean, also by saying it out loud is accountability. So I'm done 50k ultra there, and now I'm up in the distance in March. No, sorry, in May. I'm running a 110 kilometer ultra in Finland. That's a 2-day event.
I'd love to go to Finland.
Yeah,
it looks so sick.
There's a lot of water, which looks really nice.
It looks amazing.
Sick. And then I'm also going to Toubkal to climb Toubkal in Morocco, and that's in March. And the thing is, like, when I say I'm going for quality over quantity, like I'm going for experiences where I can feel fully alive instead of going for the quantity of going to it. So I was going to go to like Bali for like a month or something. Yeah. But now, like, I want to go to somewhere like for a really short period of time to be fully in it, to come home and have 3 weeks to recount it. So I'm really excited for that Morocco trip and climbing Toubkal. Then we're going into Finland in May, and in September, my mate signed me up for this against my own will, but we're going for a 230 kilometer ultra, 5 days across the Kenyan safari.
So that's the race you were chatting about that your friend signed you up for?
Yeah.
Right, nice.
Like
insane.
I have no right to be signing up to that, but I know that I've got enough time to get myself in a position where I can attack that.
230 kilometers. Damn,
crazy.
That's exciting.
But like the thing is as well, like,
how far is that miles?
170. Good question.
That's a lot. So that's like the Belfast and back, and then maybe go to Belfast again.
But the thing is,
Well,
like, as
that's
I say,
class.
I've no position to be signing up for that, and I do suffer from imposter syndrome. But it's also the fact that, like, anyone can sign up for anything they want to do.
Yeah.
And realistically, if you put in the work, chances are you're going to succeed in it. But it's the fear of failure of why people don't do a lot of stuff, and it's why I almost didn't go for this. Like, I was kind of annoyed, but you know, they told me that they'd sign me up. But the potential of anything is a reason why you do it. But the potential of anything is also the scariest thing. And it's the thing that you have to get the realist with. And by putting that in the diary in September, I know now I've got 9 months of hard work in front of me. But that's 9 good months of growth.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think everyone that's ran that race before has thought they couldn't do it. At some stage. So, like, it's just about realizing you can 100% do it.
Yeah.
And you've got 9 months, and it's like something to work towards.
This may sound completely silly, but, like, I ask myself, like, will you die? Do you know what I mean? Like, realistically, if you are on the 3rd day of that race and you're only 130 kilometers in, and your lungs are screaming or your legs are screaming, like, you know, will you die if you keep walking? If you're silly, you might be able to, right? But like, if you've got people around you, and you've got first aid there and all there, you can allow yourself to fully be in that experience. And as dumb as this may sound, that pain is just an experience and emotion of life. Like, so that is what's going to add to that mental growth, and that's what's going to bring you to a mental position where you're able to look up and go, I'm in severe pain here, put my body through an amazing challenge in somewhere so beautiful. And that's really the reason I do it. Like, I don't want to do it to cross the line. I want to do it to experience those moments where life feels so raw and so real. You know, because of the environment you force yourself into, or in this case, your mates put yourself into. But, like, that's, like, I don't think that's something to be feared. I think it's something to be enjoyed. Yeah. And so, like, if I'm hurting in a race, I will just go, like, are you going to die? No, just keep going. Like, just live with it, just experience it, feel everything. Don't fight it, feel it. Just be, like, experience it, or, like, be appreciative of the position you're in, that you're able to feel this pain and to feel so alive in the moment. Like, do not fight it, just feel it.
Damn, that's nice.
I like how
that was real nice.
Do you know Primal Scream?
No.
The band, it's a song of theirs, and I was I don't know what I was doing at the time, but it just came in my head, that song. I was like, don't fight it, feel it. I was like, whoa, that's very true. So now any big session I'm having, like any tempo session, anything,
nice.
Like,
need to get the Primal Scream in the ears.
Don't fight it, feel it, just feel it. And then you just, like, let go, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, this pain in my legs is class. Like, you know, I'm out here, like, I'm breathing fast. Like, this is living, man. You know? And it's not about, like, a medal or a Instagram post saying, been there, done that. It's about those class wee moments of, like, you know, just being really connected to life and yourself and your body. And
yeah, man, that's really nice. And it's a really nice way to kind of round things off. Anywhere that people want to follow you, let them know. I know you let us know in the first one, but by the sounds of things, you're going to have a pretty cool year, and no doubt you'll be documenting little bits and pieces in the lead up to the run.
Documenting it all. I like doing wee mini series, so every event I'll do will have a wee mini series to nice. To it. We're sharing everything. Got a broadcast channel there on Instagram. That's
nice. I still don't have the option to get it.
You need to get one, man.
People need Tim broadcasting. Like, they definitely don't. People need less of me broadcasting. But what's your Instagram? C Rice, Conall Rice, C Rice.
Conall Rice, and then
1 N 2 L's.
1 N 2 L's. Yes, very good. And then TikTok's Conall Rice with 3 E's at the end.
Conall Rice 1 E wasn't available.
It wasn't available. It wasn't, because my old account took in that, and I just do skits and stuff. Oh mate, if anyone finds that, like, I'm
we spoke about that in the last one too. I haven't went to look for it, but Marius was telling me too that we were chatting about it.
Yeah, well, he coerced me into it, so of course he knows about it. But the one thing as well, actually, just before we go with 2024, my plans is, like, I just want to be undeniably myself. And I've started doing that with my content, and it feels so free. Like, I made a silly video yesterday, just rinsing myself
about the 5K.
About the 5K,
seen it,
like,
enjoyed it a lot.
Like, you know, and just being self-aware and sharing that with people is, like, so special, and I think it allows people to connect with you so much more. And I'm working on a wee project at the minute called Real Life, which is my wee series of vlogs. So I'd done a Vlogmas, but I hated the word Vlogmas. I was like, what do I want to call this?
Yeah.
So I looked at what I want out of it, and I just wanted to give an accurate documentation of real life without trying to fabricate it with like double workouts in a day and all this here and, you know, all this flashy stuff and doing all this amazing stuff. Like just a video of me reading a book next to the fire with my dog beside me and stuff like that. And to take away that like kind of like barrier that, you know, kind of divides people in social media, and just to be openly yourself is such a nice way to do it.
Yeah.
So I do have high hopes for this year in terms of like, I don't care about my following or my growth or anything.
Yeah.
I just want to keep connecting with more people, because this series has really helped me do that. And the messages you share with people, and even having someone go, yo mate, I'm 21 and just signed up to an ultra, you know, and just replying, yeehaw mate, go for it, send us a picture when you're done.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so special. So I am really excited for the new year, and I hope that you know, I can put in a good shift of just being open, honest, like vulnerable, and showing that like there's a lot of joy to be had in sharing that with people. So
man, here's to another year of living. Man, it was great, and I really appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you.
Pleasure.
I really do. We'll go grab some scran.
Yeah. That's the only reason I'm here.
Man, absolutely. You bought me a coffee, so geez, come on. But no, look, appreciate everyone tuning in. The new kind of tagline that we're going with is coffee conversations with cool people, and ultimately that's what I want to get from this podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I know Conall listens to a lot of podcasts, Chris Williamson and Stephen Bartlett and all the rest. And if you just pick up one thing or two things, like me and Conall are no better than anyone listening to this. It's not, sometimes I feel like podcasting come across as I am all knowing and I know this, and it's just our experiences, our opinions, and it's just having an open chat, which I feel like encourages you to kind of have that chat with yourself and learn a little bit more about yourself. And we're all just kind of figuring it out together. So yeah, look, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you took some value from it. We do also have a coffee guide releasing soon. I don't know when this is going to come out, but go on to morningcoffeewithtim.com, and if there's a coffee guide available, great, grab it. If there's not, you'll be able to put your email in, and you'll get a discount, and you'll be the first to know about it. It's all the best coffee shops in Northern Ireland. There is a Bali one coming. There is a London one coming. I'm just slowly making coffee guides all around the world of everywhere I go. Nice. So it's a good little hobby. But yeah, look, don't forget to grab a coffee, get your steps in, get inspired. I nearly forgot it. And I'll see you in the next one.
Peace.